Hey team, how are you today? It is Hannah here and welcome back to my channel. Today on this episode of Faking It, the series where I try to help you be a better adult even though I clearly don't know how to be one, we're going to talk about procrastination. Procrastination. That's right, how to get shit done. So here are some tips that have helped me, both when I was back at school and uni, which is quite a long time ago now. I use them both in my personal life and also in my job to make sure that I get shit done, because that is what I get paid to do. I get paid to make sure shit gets done. So this is something that I like to think that I'm good at. Hopefully, let's see, I don't know. So the first thing that I always do is I list down absolutely everything that I have to do. My biggest problem when I start a list is that it becomes a never-ending list because it's never just 2 or 3 things that you know you have to do and you're gonna cross them off. It becomes 25 things. That is a good thing. Get that out of your system. When you do write a list, you wanna write absolutely everything down and you have everything that you inside yourself feel like you wanna do on paper. The next thing to do is to go through that list and rank them. Whether you wanna do 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, easy as 1, 2, 3. If only I could be Michael Jackson. No, I do not want to be Michael Jackson. Partly because he's dead and also because he's definitely done some weird things with some people that didn't want to do it with him, right? Anyway, allegedly, I like to use highlighter colors. That's something that I just enjoy when I'm writing my list, is that I like to make it colorful so I can really differentiate between them. And yeah, that's the end of that. The next thing that you need to do is break it up into multiple lists. I will rewrite my first list into 3 separate lists. One being the pink of has to be done today, another one being the blue of should be done if I have time, and the last one being whatever color I choose of this is far-fetched blue skies. If I had all of the time in the world, if maybe I were Beyonce, I could get this done, because girl, she gets a lot done every single day, but as much as we want to be her, we can't be her. What you're gonna do with your most important list is keep that one, and the other 2 lists, you are going to throw them away. Put them straight in the bin. You're not gonna get that stuff done. The next thing to do is to look at that list, and it might say things like do my assignment or something like that that is a very large task. What you need to do with those large tasks is break them down into smaller tasks. Rather than do my assignment as something on the list, what you're gonna wanna do is break it into things like do research on the first topic, do research on the second topic, write my introduction, write my conclusion. Chunking things into smaller sections is gonna help it A, be more achievable, and B, see your progress as you go. Because if you've spent 6 hours on something and you still at the end of it can't cross that off a list, you're gonna feel like you've done nothing even though you've done 75% of the work. So breaking it up not only helps you know what comes next, but also to feel productive. Once you have that longer list of smaller tasks and achievable tasks, what you're gonna wanna do is look at what you hate. What is the one thing on that list that you do not want to do? The one thing that you're like, I just wish I didn't have to do this at all? That's what you're gonna do first. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. If you leave it till the end of the day, the whole day you're going to be dreading getting to that thing. If you wait until the end of the day, you're gonna go, oh, I haven't gotten to it, I haven't really got time to do it, and oh, I guess I'll just have to push it till tomorrow. You're gonna end up not doing it at all. In a lot of productivity workshops and things like that, they call it eating your frog. That's part of what I do for my job. And so every time I think of that, I like to identify the Kermit in my work, and I'm sorry, but he's out. He's done. The next thing with a task that maybe isn't something that you have to do this afternoon, this is more for long-term tasks like assignments or planning holidays, things like that that are more of a long-term concept. You want to move the deadline back. Move it to a week beforehand. it's due on the 10th. By the 3rd, I'm gonna have it done and I'm gonna send it to my friend. They don't even have to necessarily read it or send it back to you or any of those things. If they wanna do that and you wanna swap, that's so helpful. Definitely do that because you'll learn from each other's work as well. Not copy, but learn. But also, even if they don't want to be involved in it at all, as long as they just say, if I haven't got this thing by the 3rd, I am going to come down on you like a rain of fire. And if you don't get it done by the 3rd, you have extra time to complete it, because who knows, your bathroom might flood, and so not getting it done by the 3rd means that you have the extra time built in to be able to complete it. But also, if you're done by the 3rd, you have a week free to do just whatever you want to do with your life.
I'll do what I want.
You can start on the next assignment if you are so inclined, or you can just have a week off because you've worked hard enough and planned well enough to get your stuff done. When you are thinking about how quickly you can move that deadline forward, how many tasks you want to get done today, what sort of timeline you're going to work towards, short term or long term, you need to factor in you time. What that means is you're always going to say, oh, I'll do these extra things if I have time. And then because they're on your list, you're gonna freak out and try to cram them in. And then you are going to be working late, not seeing your friends, not eating lunch properly. I used to do that at work all the time. I would work through my lunch break because I had so much to get done. But at the end of the day, I probably could have planned myself better and didn't have to do all of those extra things that I was thinking, oh, I should get them done now. Because then there were days where I was like, oh, I've got nothing really to do today. They're kind of paying me for nothing, even though the previous 4 or 5 days I'd worked through my lunch break and worked back extra hours. So planning in time for yourself and to have fun and to relax and step away from the task you're doing is really, really important, because you want to take care of yourself first. It's also really important that when you set deadlines, like I'm going to work on my assignment for 2 hours today, that you set a timer for 2 hours, and at the end of those 2 hours, even if you haven't done it, you stop and walk away. That's because if you're setting rules for yourself and you are breaking those rules, you aren't gonna trust yourself to get anything done. And the first few times you do this, it's gonna be really hard, and you probably will end up pushing through that false deadline and working towards the real one, because you haven't got into that habit yet of, when I say it's 2 hours, I have to actually work for those 2 hours rather than sit down and scroll Facebook and all of those things. But it's gonna teach yourself that you laying down the law is how it is. I have to work, I have to do this. It takes 21 days to start a new habit. That's 3 weeks every single day of doing the same thing. So if you aren't working on assignments every week, if say 3 days a week you've set yourself up, it's gonna take you a few months to get into that habit of working exactly the way that you know that you can and you know that you should. But it's the pushing through and making sure that you do it that's really, really important. It's also stopping yourself from burning out. The one thing that people do, and I'm so bad at this, honestly, I do it every single time, and it's the one thing that I'm telling you guys, and I'm sitting here going hypocrite, because I know that I have real trouble with this, is burnout. Pushing yourself so hard and working yourself so hard that after a certain period of time, you just can't function as a human anymore. That happens to me more often than I would like to admit. And I'm saying to you guys, it honestly, in the times in my life when I'm productive and I'm working well and I'm trucking along and I am not burning myself out, it is because I'm setting myself limits and I'm sticking to those limits. Now, this is really important when you actually sit down to work. The space that you work in is important. And I'm not talking about neutral colors and calm whatever and this and that. What works for you works for you. If you are productive in the morning, work in the morning. If you're productive late at night, like me, work late at night. You know yourself better than anybody else, and you need to start being aware of when do I work better and how do I work better, and do I like noise. I personally prefer to have a little bit of background noise. There's a website called Coffeetivity. I'll link it down below. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. But it's basically just, it sounds like you're in a cafe, or it sounds like there's people around kind of mumbling, and it distracts me from everything else that's going on, but not enough, say like music with lyrics in it, that means I want to start singing along and oh my gosh, remember that time I went out and this song was playing, or oh, I remember when I was 16 and this was my favorite song. Because it's not specifically a tune or a lyric or something that you can engage with, but it's background noise, it helps your brain shut off the parts that need to be shut off and focus. So however you work is really important, but the one thing that I would suggest is an arm's reach rule. If you need something, think about it before you sit down and put it within arm's reach. If you have to stand up to get something, you've instantly broken the flow of your work, and then sitting back down and getting back into it and making your brain go, wait, where was I again? And what was I reading? And what was I saying? And what was I typing? All of that is gonna take so much time. So if you need it, it is within arm's reach. And if you don't need it, like your phone, it's not within arm's reach. Put it on loud so you can hear it if mum calls with an emergency, but it's not within arm's reach. So if you get bored and get stuck, you don't just pick it up and start scrolling through Tinder or whatever. You can't do that, so you can't break that flow of work that you're in. My next tip is that keep that list next to you. When you complete a task, tick it off, highlight it off, cross it out. However it makes you feel as though that's done, keep that next to you so that as you go, you can look down and say, this is what I've done. This is what I have completed. I'm 50% of the way there. I'm 70% of the way there. And you can track your progress as you go, because like I said, if you don't break up that larger task into smaller chunks, you can't see your progress. But by the same token, if you do break it up into smaller tasks and then just put your list somewhere else and don't really look at it and it's up on the wall, but you're facing this way, again, you aren't gonna see your progress. It's important to know that you're working towards something and seeing those steps happen. So keep that list next to you and refer back to it as you complete a task. And the last tip that I have for you guys is planning is so important. It helps so much. And the other thing about planning is you could literally do it for days. Planning is great, but once you have a plan, start. You need to get something done before lunch. You know what I mean? But you can't just plan all morning and be like, oh, I've been so productive, I've just planned. Set up a really strong plan for yourself. I would personally say plan the day before you're going to start. Planning itself is something that you should set aside time for, but then you need to just start. So I've given you guys 11 different tips on how to beat procrastination, and some of them are quite similar and they probably kind of ran together in the way that I explain them, because that's the way that I talk. I meander through forests. Living in the woods, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna list them again here for you now so that it is really explicitly clear. Always start with a list of everything that you need to get done, and I mean everything. Then what you're gonna wanna do is isolate your key tasks, the really important ones that you cannot leave until later. Put them on a separate piece of paper. Then look at that list and you're gonna wanna start taking the really large, insurmountable, scary tasks and chunking them into smaller, more achievable things. Then on that list of smaller, more achievable tasks, you're gonna wanna find the one that you do not want to do, the absolute worst thing ever. And like I said, it's called eating your frog, or I prefer to call it killing Kermit. You need to find your Kermit on that list and just slaughter him. Just get it out of the way. Don't matter if it's messy, blood everywhere is fine. Then you're gonna wanna move your deadline, because unforeseen things happen in life all of the time and you need to build in that extra buffer for yourself to make sure things get done. And don't forget to, when you're planning, build in time for yourself, because otherwise you are going to get burnt out and not gonna be able to function. Then the area that you work in is really important, the arm's reach rule, just so that you can really get into a flow. Don't forget to refer back to your list so that you can look at your progress and see how far you've come with all of the work that you've done. And if you are laying down the law for yourself, you need to stick to that. You need to start trusting yourself that you have planned well enough that if you do these chunks of times, it's gonna get done by when it needs to be. And the last and most important thing is to just start. Just start. Do it. Do it. That's a thing that I have tattooed on my body. It's actually a Spice Girls tattoo, just so that you know that. It's inspiring, but it's not supposed to be a Nike tattoo. Everyone thinks that. Nike. I say Nike. Technically, you can say either. I don't want to hear anything about it. I say Nike. Get used to it. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to comment below with tips that you have. We're a team here on this channel. I don't want to be just telling you guys how to live your life. We all know I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. So if you guys have something else that you think is really, really helpful, don't forget to put it in the comments below, and subscribe to my channel. I do bring out new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and click the notifications bell so you get a prompt when I actually do the upload on that day. But if you are in the middle of doing something important and you see that notification come up, just wait until you've completed your task, because look, I want the views and I want you to engage with this, but also shit needs to get done. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Whatever.